Okay, so for my stocks pick of the week, for week 19th of May 2025, going to go back over the previous week's stock picks first, and they're on the left there. So the first one is ETON. This was my very first stock pick of the week, and it's gone through and did what it did. So, we got the move down, it found support, we got full confluence from the stocks predator confluence meters, those scans that we run every 24 hours. And then I made the video. In fact, it was a live stream to go in there around about 14.60, something like that, with a target of $18. We'd smashed that, and a profit was taken at $20 there. Very, very good move on ETON. Again, it all comes from understanding if there's fresh air. Fresh air means to the next resistance zone. I'm only doing longs on these types of lives. And then with the stocks predator, we're looking at confluence of 3 different types of strategies that give us that real sort of confidence that that directional flow has some strength and it goes. So this is ETON. That was my first one. So let's go from the top. BLOK was last week. We got a really good entry in this again. ETF, really, really sensible sort of entry here. We did come down in April to test this support, and then we got the green triangle first, then we got the 6-star buy, and then we went all green on the buy set heat map, and we went long around 42, something like 42.63, and we're closed at 47.91. Initial target was $50 here, but it'd be interesting next week if we can push through this $50 and try those highs around 54. So if crypto remains pretty strong, this blockchain ETF could be breaking through that resistance. But again, we need to make sure that we are at least risk-free if we're swinging this. If it's a longer-term investment, fine, it's not a problem, because it may hit this resistance, come back down. Hey Otis, how you doing? I just saw the chat there. So those that have followed this, I know Otis is one of our users for the Stocks Predator. If you followed this, you just be aware, if this is a longer term investment, it may find that resistance, that $50, and have some sort of pullback here. But if crypto keeps going very well, we could indeed break through this $54 and then continue to go on this longer term all the way up to $64. That's where we're looking on the weekly. If we just go to the weekly here, it's not about just picking them, it's about manage them as well. So we can see here we've had these highs before of $64. See on the weekly, this really big move from the April 2020 all the way up to here. That was a confluence move as well on the weekly, by the way. And this is where we are right now. So it's looking pretty strong. Those Ellioticians out there will see this current, it was quite deep, but in fact, it probably didn't break the rules for a wave 4 pullback and a 5th wave. This would be the 3rd wave pivot. 5th wave would be $64. This is looking pretty good. So that's an update on BLOK. PRK was last week. We got the entry, which is good. So again, we did come down below this weekly level here. We've got the roller coaster, the 5-star buy, the 6-star buy. We've got all 6 timeframes green on the buy step heat map. And then we just got ticked in here around about $164, and then it gapped. And this is where we're sort of stabilizing right now. So that's pretty good. There's a lot of room in this, though. We've got to be patient with this one. RSI, this was the one after ETON. It's still not running. This was the earnings play. So we had the full confluence, and then we wanted to wait for earnings to happen. Was after the confluence. It did come down a little bit on this red candle here, but we've been slowly moving up here. So the earnings reaction initially was negative, but it's recovered very, very well since then. So at this moment in time, I think I'm going to give it another week. We are consolidating here. It will need a catalyst. It will need some sort of news, insider activity, or something like that. But or just even with the sector itself. But if it gets that, there's a lot of room up to $17 there. So I'm still hanging on for this one. This is not in yet. So this week's is HNST. Quick question, Otis. Yeah. When you go to place a trade, do you just set it to trade at your entry point, or just leave it and do watch it until the trade is taken? So with your broker, most likely, most of my trades like this, for example, at 1264, I would put a stop market order on. So when it moves through there, it will take it. Now, if it gaps, it won't take it. So you need to be aware, you know, basically be around for that stock market open. Look what's happening pre-market. And if it's going to be gapping, but you know, it's only going to be gapping, say, to $13, there's still a lot of fresh air there. You would wait. You would cancel your stop market order, and you would just put a market order on as soon as the market opens and get in at the market price. Does that answer your question? So most of the time, all the longs I'm looking for a start point. And again, we'll look at that on HNST. So that start point is a stop market order. So when it moves through, the problem with stocks is they have an open, a high, a low, and a close, and then they open again. So it could open up above where you want to get it. So just be very, very careful. So if this gapped up to, say, $14, I would not be interested. Okay, if it gapped up to 13.50, I would be interested. This doesn't look like it's a very gappy stock, so it won't do that. So the stock market would work. Okay, thank you. Brilliant. So HNST, this has come from the scanner, and I just want to go to the weekly. What I do is we get the scan results. So we can see on these three little traffic lights here, all three are green. So it has a really sort of strong confluence on that daily time frame. But I always go to the weekly, and I want to see where that major support and resistance zone are. So we've got this previous pivot back in November 2024. If we look left, it bounced off that same sort of zone of price at that point, came down, and then eventually, we've got a bit of clustering here, but it did come back down here. So this is relevant. This sort of $9 target is relevant because it's hit there recently, and also it's actually tested it as support in the past, or in 2021. We say, well, is that relevant now? Institutions made a decision around that price point, so it's going to be relevant because they're going to be looking at charts like this. So we've still got a lot of fresh air. We can see we've got this pivot here, and this pivot here. That's our sort of support. It did push down through there, okay, but that's its main thing for me is it's come back through and above that. Okay, so we go back to the daily. We can see we have in gray here, I've put a daily zone on here. Got a lot of sort of support and resistance through this zone. Didn't quite tip there, was very, very close. But the main thing for me is $9 target is for HNST. Okay, I've got full confluence on Friday. It started this move really on April 25th. Okay, trying to get back through this weekly zone. It did come back down, but then back up again. We had then the 5-star buy signal. So a 5-star is an xBrat algo. 5 stars is 11 out of 12 points of control for confluence. A 6-star is 12 out of 12. It's like a 6-star hotel. So, you know, it's a really strong type of signal. And then all 6 timeframes on our bias depth heat map for Friday were all green. So the bias depth heat map looks at this current time frame and higher timeframes than this daily. And if we are bullish on all of those timeframes, that's our confirmation. So this is how we build that confluence to understand that increasing flow, that directional flow. There's more tributaries feeding that river to increase its speed, and that's what we're looking for with the stocks predator, and that's what those scanners are for. So with HNST, it's a cheap stock as well, really, really good, and it moves well. So I'm looking here at putting a stop market order on at 556. Okay, I'm looking to get in at 556. It is a little bit of a gappy stock. We can see these gaps in these candles here. So I need to, and especially on here as well. So I need to be present and aware and see what's happening pre-market tomorrow on Monday and make that decision. Is it going to gap up above my entry? If it is, I either cancel it and look for a market, or just say, no, wait, if it gaps up, comes back down, takes me in, very happy. Those are the decisions you're going to have to make. But the risk reward is pretty good. If we look at the stop around about 377, just below this previous pivot here, and then our entry 556 to $9, it's over 1 to 1.6 risk reward. Really, really good. Loads of fresh air. I call it fresh air. There's room to maneuver. There are little pivots within this regression trend channel here. And what I put on my, so there's a journaling function with the stocks predator. So in here, these are my notes. This, stock pick of the week, 19th of May, full confluence. That's the first thing. Previous weekly bearish move has a tight regression trend channel with a Pearson's R of 90%. Let's look at that. So we go back to the weekly again. So I've talked about the weekly time zone. With the charting package, with the which is provided by TradingView, but we actually hard code in our indicators in there as well. We do have what we call a regression trend channel with the drawing tools in here. Okay, we can see that just there. What that does is we take the top pivot and the bottom pivot, and it draws a trend channel and looks at the averages, the highs, the lows, that opens to close, and it gives you a good averaging type of trend channel here. The Pearson's R at this point here, I've got to zoom in because it's a different color. In fact, let's zoom out. 96.962. Can you see that there? That's 96.2%. So that's what we call an orderly pullback. Okay, that's it's not it's not falling off a cliff. It's not a panic selling. It's just literally continued profit taking, and it's found a good support. And when it breaks out of that channel, there is a good opportunity if we get the confluences to take the long. So we can see we've broken out of this channel. Breaking out of that channel for me was around about $5, but I wait for confluence. I wait for those tributaries to start feeding the river and that directional flow increasing. So then I'm looking at this with that 556 entry, $9 target, great risk reward, cheap stock. I like to mix these up a little bit. And we look at the earnings date here. We have the 6th of the 8th, 2025. So lots of time for this to move, to gather some momentum, and we can start to understand how we're going to manage this in the future. So at this moment in time, ETON is out. Okay, this is our first one about 4 or 5 weeks ago. We got in, brilliant. It was a live stream just like this. And then we had an $18 target. It gapped up above there, and then just went to 21.48 or something like that. But when it came back down, I took it out at 20. So that's our first one. Great. 100% win rate will be brilliant. It's not always going to work, but we'll see. The next one was RSI. Again, to remind you, we're not in that right now. I'm going to give it another week. We're consolidating this zone. There's a lot of fresh air. We're all back on the green on the bias depth heat map. We can see here on Fridays. So we've got some good bias, bullish bias leading us into there. So I'm looking for an entry this week. And then we have BLOK, which was the previous week. And this is really, this is working very, very well. We can see with the roller coaster here, we can see this sort of trend line here moving through our original entry. So if we were swing trading this and wanted to be ultra aggressive here, we could put our stop just above this entry and make it risk-free. That's an option for people. But for me, I'm looking at this longer term. So this although it's on the stocks pick of the week right now, I may move that eventually over to my long-term investment watch list, because there may be other opportunities to add more to this, because I like some exposure with these crypto ETFs. Very, very good. It's not all about, I'm in EBIS and other things, the other ETFs, but this one I think has some legs longer term, but you have to ride the waves. But we'll discuss that in future weeks. Again, PRK was last week, and we got in. It literally, this was the move that took us in, and then it closed down here. Then the very next day, gapped up. Okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, done. We're in. Okay. The problem is now we're going to have to wait for this to consolidate. There is a lot of fresh air up there, but will it want to come to close the gap? We don't know. We've not got a crystal ball. We can't look right. All we can do is say, right, we're in this right now. My stop all below all of this trouble at this moment in time. I've got a $200 target, and I just need to be patient and wait. And then obviously this week we're going to add HNST to our list. Nice cheap stock, 556 for that stock market order. Just to get off of these here, I'm just going to go back to the end of day scanner, and then there are opportunities also, obviously, when you're a user of the Stocks Predator. So we can look at 2 out of 3. So when we look at 2 out of 3 on the green here, so we're getting towards that confluence, the full confluence. We can put some filters on there which will try and help to sort of filter that down a little bit, because there's 572 stocks in there with that. So we can go look at this beta. If I go beta over 2, there we go, list comes right down. Okay, now beta over 2 means 1 is sort of it behaves just like the markets. The S&P 500 it falls in line with that. If it's 2, it's a lot more volatile, and the potential reward is a lot higher. Just go to one stock on there, RCL. We're already in this. We have a group with the Stocks Predator on our Discord group. We have a forum there, and we discuss things. I actually just discussed our RCL in a webinar a few weeks ago, and this was my entry that we talked about there, and it's doing very, very well. We had full confluence at this point, but I needed to get it through this sort of daily zone, and now that's going hell for leather. Target $270. I know a couple of guys in the forum have actually played this on options with that $270 or $275 strike price. So very, very good. So there are potentials in there. We take those filters off and look at the ones with a 3 out of 3. That's all there was. Okay, that's all there was on Friday. This really sort of concentrates your efforts to see what stocks. And I went through these and I chose HNST. Okay, that was my choice for this week's stock pick of the week. So once I've finished this live stream, I will go on and put on the link for the Stocks Predator, although it may be in the description already. The Stocks Predator is a standalone scanning device, charting device. It's got 3 of the indicators on so far. It's got the roller coaster, the xBrat algo, and the bias depth heat map, and the scanner looks for those stocks. So we scan 4,900 stocks and ETFs right now, and then we look for those confluence. We can build dynamic watch lists. That when you've built the dynamic watch list, you can have them emailed to you every day. As soon as a scan runs, the dynamic watch list gets updated and it emails you those alerts. Okay, very, very cool. And we have that facility. If I go back to my 2 in 2, I do 2 stocks in 2 minutes. If we look at some of these, we have that facility. This is another one. I do 2 stocks in 2 minutes videos where I do a technical analysis using the results from here. This is in profit right now, but what we have is our ability to journal these particular things. And again, now I will have opportunity to add to that particular journal. Just press the plus sign, take a screenshot within there, and then put notes in that, you closed above entry, need a close above 180 for me before I go risk free. Okay, so that's my note, and I can close it. And then we could also do voice notes as well if you don't want to type, and then close that. If I go back now to ETON, for example, in my stocks pick of the weeks, we can see I've got multiple entries in here, and I can go back right to the beginning. I can read what my thoughts were at that point. and then going through and updating as we went and just putting this. It's great journaling for your choices, because guess what? If in 6 months or a year's time, ETON comes on the confluence scanner again, I can understand the behavior and what I did last time. And that's very, very important, because it always stays with you. Thank you, Mel. And I know, Mel, you are actually in RCL as well, which was one of the ones we discussed on the live webinar. Did you play options for that, Mel? I can't remember. Let me go back to live swing trades. I think it's in, yeah, RCL. RCL, and yeah. So also within our community, Shaq came up on one of the scanners, and I did mention that I was going to wait until it pushed through that 112, through that resistance zone. And I know, Mal, you're in Shaq as well. So now we had full confluence, but I needed it to get through here. So I'm really just trading this once it broke here to, you know, like a 136 sort of target zone there. So, you know, it's not just those trades of the weeks, the users that we have on the Stocks Predator. We have a forum, and I'm active in there every day. There's Mal, there's Richard, there's lots of people in there. And, you know, when they run those scans, when the scans run automatically, when they look at those results, they're asking questions about specific stocks, ETFs, and everything else. I mean, we do London stocks as well. So I think it's, and even ETFs in India. Okay. We scan for those as well. This came out quite a while ago, but this is good. This is really good. I mean, entry was down here, we're up here. It doesn't matter where it is in the world. It's a ticker. It has abilities to make money. And it doesn't matter where it is. If we're in London, you know, on a London stock, for example, we can still trade that. DSGX is another one that we did in the forum, and that's doing pretty well right now as well. We can see that trailing stock position just coming through that initial entry, $122 target. Lots and lots of opportunities in those scan results, and when we look at those confluences. And it really does, for me, lots of stocks out there, but if you can narrow in, you know, if I can go, right, 2 green, I'm looking for potentials, I want a beta over 2, okay, and then I'm only interested in, you know, this is a German stock there, for example. So I'm in Germany, I want to look at German stocks. Is this right for me? No. Bit late for that one, okay, but it really sort of concentrates the mind to look at specifics. And when we go to 3 out of 3 and we just take that beta filter off, we've only got a few. Home Depot's on there. You know, I could have chose that one, but it's quite an expensive stock. So from a perspective of me making these videos once a week with those stocks picks of the week, I need to be mindful that not everybody can buy a stock at $380. And when I see a stock that's cheap, like HNST, you know, if it has the confluence, the fresh air, and good potential with earnings way out there, I'll choose it, because it's not all about the big stocks. Now, this one, Mal, I think we need to within the forum, perhaps tomorrow or even this evening, maybe look for an options play and share it in the forum. I think we just go to weekly a second. Let's look for a strike price that was going to make sense here. I think that sort of low. I'm not taking this big pivot here. I'm just looking at these previous pivots and the resistance here, this pivot here, and just here. Weekly, I always have the next color. Okay, anything that's going to be, that's just one pivot. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Let's go to the daily. I think with the daily, we're through the trouble as well. If we just pick up these pivots here and here, I think we're through the resistance quagmire as well. So with Home Depot, I think you got a $420 strike price. Mel, HD on my list from Scan. Yeah, good. Yeah, 25 delta 90-day play. Yeah, I think so. When's earnings? 20th of the 5th. This is going to be the catalyst, Mel. This is going to be the issue. It's already above the resistance. So if you're going to play that options play, you're going to have to make that decision before earnings. That's the issue, and that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't use HT as the example for stock pick of the week. But it has some very good potential. The momentum started to build now. We're full confluence. We've broken this. I think a $420 strike price is something to look at. But yeah, please add that in the forum, Mel, and I look forward to seeing what your options play is going to be there. I think Richard in the forum as well also asked about this ETF, the Vanguard ETF, the S&P ETF. There is a nice little bit of room here, and I think $94 would be target. But again, this is something ETFs where you look for the confluences to add to your existing position in an ETF. So it's not necessarily you're going to be looking at targets, but when you get those full confluences down here, here, and now here, you want to make sure there's enough fresh air that when you're actually adding your position that you are making a difference. There's room to go, because obviously if your average holding price is say $74 and you're going to buy at 85, you're going to bring that average holding price up. So is there enough room in this initial next move to continue in a profitable position for yourself? So those in this particular ETF, now we've got full confluence, I would say this is a great time to add to your position. It may increase your average holding price slightly, but all the technicals here give us that comfort that there's a lot of room to go to $94, $96. If your average holding positions right now, say $74, and you're going to only 85, but you're only adding sort of like 20% to your average position size, it's not going to adjust it that much. And I think it's a really good time to get into this ETF as well. So gone on too long. It's Sunday evening here. Remember, HNST is the stocks pick of the week for this week. Nice cheap stock. Don't need to play options with this. Just get some, okay? Even if it's $100 or whatever it is, $1,000 of this particular stock. Lots of fresh air here. Earnings is way out, and we've broken that cycle of profit taking. We've found good support now. All the tributaries are feeding this for that directional flow, and we've got some really good potential with HNST. So hopefully that helps. Any questions there? Got a great audience tonight, actually. I'm really impressed with that. I'm going to do these every Sunday as long as I can, using that stocks predator. Don't forget to check out the links below if you're watching this recording, or even you're watching it live. In the description, I put in the stocks predator there. It's a standalone web-based platform. No matter what machine you're on, where you are in the world, whether it's an iPad, whether it's a PC like this, it's yours. Get subscribing to it, get those scans running, join the community, and let's start to build confluence strategies with people. This is the sensible type of strategy. It's not just hit or miss. It's about a scanner, a very complex scanner, does all the work, finds the confluences. You just got to see if there's fresh air. If there's fresh air to trade into, it's probably a good opportunity. And again, we have that community building on the Discord forum just for the users. So nice to see you all on a Sunday, and I'll probably catch you in the week when I do some more lives, but that will be most likely futures trading. So have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you all really soon.